Hello friends, Mali Pompadour here, CEO of the SOAR Community Network and co-founder of SOAR Community Nebula. Our goal this year is to bring to you 1,000 champions of change and community builders. And today we have my dear friend, Pramod Raheja. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Molly. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited. We've known each other for so long, and this is the first time I've sat you down and get you to do an interview with me. So thank you so much for saying yes. Thank you so much for being a part of our Nebula initiative. Please reintroduce yourself to our community and let us know what you're currently working on in the world.
Sure. Hey, I'm Pramod Raheja, Mode for short. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Agility, where we, right now, that's my role is to lead that company. We're a small early stage technology company, and we're building what we call unmanned aerial systems, or drones, as most people know them, and we're solving real world problems with them, from emergency response to logistics and delivery and beyond that. And outside of that, I am a heavy volunteer and with an entrepreneurs organization, and currently will be leading and being a part of an effort with the United Nations and some of their sustainable development goals as well.
That's fantastic. Well, you're going to be sharing a lot more about that throughout this interview, because you can't just make that statement and then we can't just let that go. The next question that I have for you, Pramod, is when you look back in time and you think about the people in your life that have really impacted you, shifted perhaps even profoundly a way of thinking, is there someone or perhaps experiences that come to mind that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, sure. There's probably plenty of experiences, but the one that really pops out immediately is my dad, who at a very, very young age, I would just as kids model their parents or see what their parents do, and I would see him continuously learning. I'm a first generation Indian American, so he came to this country and he had to work really hard, as almost any immigrant that does, comes here that has to do. And he always had a book in his hand. He had bookshelves of just books at home and he would really get into it. So that stuck with me. And now I think I sort of have the same thing. My wife's always trying to get me to get rid of some of the books, and I'm like, no, we can't do that, because I might use them as reference someday, which I do from time to time. Probably not as often as I tell her I do, but still. And so I'd say my dad had a profound impact on me, and he was always, as well, aside from his profession, was always out there in the world, kind of concerned about what was happening and wanted to be a part of it. And he did some things in India that really were good things that I observed that had an impact on me and what I wanted to do in the future. As well, he became a very, as he got older, he became a very calm presence that was just one of those presence that you want to be around. And so just being around him and learning from him has been really impactful. He's 80 now, and so any chance we get to spend with him, we enjoy it.
That's great. Well, I may have you nominate him as a community champion so we can interview him too. That would be awesome.
Okay, sounds good.
So let me ask you this. When you spend time and you're giving back so much, in all the years that I've known you, you've always volunteered or sat on some board or gave of your time and your energy. When you're with other folks like you, other community builders and champions of change, what are some of the characteristics that you really value that you've seen consistently over time?
Well, first of all, whenever I am with those types of individuals that you described, the energy is just palpable. It just comes out, and I get energized. And I usually feel sometimes like I need to do better when I see some of the people around me, just because they're such great people. But some of those values that you described or asked really are just about giving without expecting anything in return. Is really, I'd say, the quality that I see. And along with that comes kindness and generosity. So when we talk about all of our reasons, like one of the things we talk about a lot is what's our why, right? Why do we do what we do? And so what I see is just sort of this kindness and generosity characteristic, where people really want to help others without expecting anything in return. They're not looking for anything at all. They just really feel like they could do something. They do it, and the world's a better place because of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now you can elaborate on this initiative with the UN and all other good initiatives that you're working on, because I know you also mentor, you also support so many different movements. But are there movements, initiatives, nonprofits, any organizations that you would like to feature and highlight and really help to advance their mission forward?
Yeah, sure. One that I've sort of gotten involved with in terms of mentoring and being an advisor to them is an organization called LEAD, which stands for Let's Empower, Advocate, and Do. And they are pretty inspirational because they're two individuals that started this in high school and then continued it through college. They just graduated and now they're full-time in their roles. So I've helped them I'm helping them sort of transition from, being students and doing this to really being full-time. It's a nonprofit, but they're still entrepreneurs because this is their baby that they've started. So it's absolutely a social enterprise, and they focus on mental health. And their initial curriculum was focused on middle school students and high school students, which, as we know, the mental health there is super important. I have kids, and I've seen, the good that sort of mental health awareness does for my kids. And now they're getting out into the sports world and the corporate world, and they're really expanding what they're doing. So I believe in their mission because I think that mental health, at least for many years, was sort of really underrated. You'd go to a doctor for your physical ailments, but it was sort of taboo if you had to go see a therapist or something. And I think that, any of us could probably use a mental health checkup with a therapist. It doesn't really matter where you are and what you're doing, that, we all have issues that we have to process, and some more than others. And so I think it should not be taboo. It should definitely be at the forefront. And I think many corporations and organizations are starting to grasp that now and starting to become, part of healthcare initiatives. And also insurance companies I think are becoming a little more progressive about covering those costs as well.
Great. That's great. Yes, I have had the pleasure of meeting Kyra, and it's amazing all of the passion that's behind this nonprofit organization. And we featured her as a change agent as well. So
awesome.
It's a shout out for all the awesome work that they're bringing into their communities and our world. All right, next question. When you think of a mantra or a quote, or I don't know, perhaps it's a philosophy that really helps ground you when times are tough and challenging, could you share one or two so that we can also be inspired by those words?
I'm a quote person, so I love quotes. It's really difficult to pick one, but one that, as you're asking me, one that really stands out. It's really simple, and it can mean different things to different people. It's very broad, and I'm not sure exactly who said it, but it's in the movie Shawshank Redemption. It might be Stephen King, which is "Get busy living or get busy dying." And really, why that stands out to me is because even when we have problems that we face, it reminds me that I get to have this problem. Like I'm grateful for it, because the alternative would be, not being around to have this problem. I had my own sort of I'll call challenges with almost not surviving 5 years ago, a medical issue. And so ever since that, even when I have problems, I'm grateful just to be around, to have that problem that I have to solve, even if it's really tough or it doesn't seem fair or what have you, that I get to have it. I don't have to have it, but I get to have it. And I look at it as an opportunity.
Pramod, what would a better world look like through your eyes?
I think for me, I think a better world would be inclusivity, just really people accepting of others and being inclusive versus what we sometimes see these days, which is sort of this exclusivity, and we're seeing it in the world, I think, and I'm not trying to make any political statements or anything. But I have observed that in the last few years, and I'd love for I've traveled the world many times over. I traveled the world before I was 18, at least twice, and I just had a birthday, and my wife threw me a party, and she calculated that I've traveled the world 200 times, just in all the travel I've done. And so everywhere I go, I see that people are all the same, and they all want the same thing. And while we have different cultural differences and religion and that sort of thing, everybody still really wants the same thing. And I think inclusive, being more inclusive in the world would be, seeing more of that would make me happy.
Yeah, it would make us all would make me happy. Maybe not all of us happy, but certainly the majority of the people in our lives, in our community, that would just change everything, wouldn't it? All right, finally, how can our community best support you right now? What are one or two things? This is your opportunity to ask. And then how can we get a hold of you and learn more about all the goodness that you're putting out there into the world?
Sure. So as you alluded to earlier, and I don't know if I could directly answer the question, but I am working on some on a team on a United Nations initiatives with some of their sustainable development goals, and one of the issues that's really near and dear to me, which is gender equality, and why that's important, because I feel strongly about economic empowerment for individuals. And the key to that is women. If we look at almost any statistic around the world, whether it's poverty rates or education rates, women play a big role. And so, really focusing on gender equality. So other people that are in this community that are also focused on that mission, or it's important to them, or they want to be involved, I'd love to connect with them. And you could get a hold of me. I guess I could give you, an email address, a phone number, Twitter. Yeah, I mean, my first name is. Would you like me to tell you all that, or?
Yeah, and we can put it in the notes. So, they can Google you, but I will definitely make sure that everybody gets access to you via your Twitter handle and all that. So I'll make sure everybody gets that. But if you don't want to share it, please share what you think is relevant.
Sure. Obviously, email my first last name. It's pramod.raheja@gmail.com. And then my Twitter handle is exactly that as well, Pramod Raheja. And I'm on LinkedIn, same thing. So those are great ways to get a hold of me, all three of those. LinkedIn is probably the one I check the most outside of email.
Great. Well, I also would like to share, as we've confirmed it, that you will also be speaking and as one of our panelists for this year's SOAR Community Summit. And I'm so excited that you said yes, and I appreciate you for that. Thank you very much.
I'm excited to do it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for all the greatness that you're bringing forth in our world with everything that you do. It's so needed. It's so appreciated. And for those that are watching, please remember to nominate yourself or someone in your community who is creating positive ripple effects. We'd love to feature them. We would like to bring to you 1,000 champions of change. So there's a long way to go. Let us know who we need to know, who we need to share with the world. Please visit us at nebula.soarcommunitynetwork.com. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.